Now, leaking gutters might look like an innocent little thing, but I've seen them cause probably thousands of pounds worth of damage over the years. The thing is that nobody goes out in the rain, nobody walks around the house with an umbrella having a look at what's going on. But if you see telltale signs, bits on the ground, green moss, anything staining on the wall, then that's a sign that something is happening up above. So just have a look at your gutters. Now, if the damp gets into the building, it can go straight through, it can cause all kinds of problems, spoiled decoration, even dry rot. So it's important that you nip these things in the bud. But what I would say from my long experience doing these things is don't go around with some mastic. It's all a mess and it never really works for long. Do the job properly rather than use horrible stuff like this. The job properly is just to replace the fitting, or if you can, just the rubbers. So there's nothing actually wrong with this fitting, apart from the fact it's been covered in all this mastic, but we're going to take it out, we're going to put a new fitting in. Now, when it comes to finding the exact fitting, they do vary very slightly. So this one I was able to identify, it's printed on the inside of a gutter, what gutter it is, so you can work it out like that. But this one is actually a POLYPIPE fitting, but it looks very much like this, which is a Hunter fitting, which is a good brand. Now, when you look on the inside here, there's some marks there, and they show where the gutter is supposed to come up to. That leaves a little bit of expansion and contraction. It's not a lot. On a whole length of gutter, it's about maybe 10 mil there on either side. But that's important because once it warms up in the morning, starts moving along, you'll find that if you don't do it, it'll start to buckle and push out of the fittings and creaking and all sorts of things. In this case, because they've covered this in mastic, I'm just going to take the whole fitting off and replace it. It's one screw. In fact, it's not, it's two screws. This one's got a central screw, but this one has two side screws. But we'll make it work. That gutter is just not going to be long enough. It's about just over an inch too short. So what I'm going to do is go up the other end and see if it's crept along, because that sometimes happens. It could be hard up the other end, so if I can gain a bit off the fitting at the other end, push it along, but it could be that the guy's just cut it too short. So what it looks like is that it's crept along all the way and it's pushed past the stop on this end. So it's too far into this. So if I just tap it along, give it a go, I can't do it, I'm just going to unclip it there. Give me slightly more to work with. That's it, that's lovely. So I mentioned that these are slightly different, these gutters, and it's really, really difficult to get that one to click into there. And if I go too far, I'll end up breaking the fitting. So what I'm going to do is just shave a bit off just where the bracket goes in. It won't take a lot, but it just makes all the difference. The other thing I'd say is that it's quite a cold day today. It's not a great job for doing on a cold day because you'll find that it's brittle and things snap, whereas they would normally just give. They end up snapping. So I've just made a tiny little notch in the top of the gutter here. There used to be a gutter system where that's what you did. You notched the top of the gutter just at the fitting. And the beauty of that system was that the gutter didn't creep along because it was held by the notches. It could only move very slightly within the notches, but they did away with it, I think, because basically it wasn't good for DIY, it wasn't good for some people. You needed a special tool to notch the gutter. So I don't think that system exists anymore. Certainly I've not seen it for a long while. But you know, plastic gutters, they are a nuisance, quite honestly. They're not as good as metal gutters. And they seem to be a UK thing. You don't see them on the continent. If you go to anywhere in continental Europe, what you see is metal gutters, which are more expensive, but way better. That's it. That's it. So now I've got that in there and I can check the fall on it. I'm just going to mark the bottom of the bracket there so I know exactly where that bracket sits. Then I can take the gutter out again, put the screws in, put the gutter back again. But you have to do it that way, because if you just try and guess it, you'll find that the bracket will be too high, too low, and there will be a strain on it.